Hello, everyone, and it's time for Astrology in the News. And of course, it's March 23rd, 2018, Omnibus Bill Day, if you haven't seen. Ugh, we're going to get into that first, but well, second. But first, we're going to get into Yogic Wisdom of the Day, and this is brought to you by the great Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, otherwise known as the Guru of the Beatles, at least most of them. So the story of love is the story of love of self. And Zuckerberg has written several novels on this by now because the guy really, 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 really loves himself. And if you don't believe me, check out a couple episodes back where I do his charts. He's so cuddly with himself. Anyway, so Trump signed that lovely, lovely tax bill today, and I am telling you, we are watching it march toward a particular date of the restructuring of the United States government. And so, really, I am pegging the end of 2019, where the United States is going to have to be forced to restructure somehow, some way. So I don't think much is going to happen this year in terms of government. There might be trigger events that happen this summer, but really things are going to get resolved around 2019. And the reason why I say this is if you look at this chart right here, this is for pretty much Christmas of 2019. This is actually the 26th. And if you look at all of the planets in here, in the first house of the United States, we have 7 of them. Plus, there's going to be a solar eclipse. So this is a lot of crazy energy for the United States. So if you thought it's been crazy, it all has to come to a head, and this is going to be that day. And anyway, of course, the march toward 2019 continues, and Kevin needs to get his slides in order, but this pretty much conveys the thing what I was talking about. So yeah, Congress is basically ramming the country over the cliff, and Donald Trump is not really being too much of a parachute. So anyway, if you didn't see this, Valerie Thompson survives a 343 mile per hour crash. Man, that is crazy. This lady was going fast. And of course, the cause of the crash is still being investigated. We know what happened. So I'm looking at Valerie Thompson's chart. Wow, this is some pretty amazing stuff. So her Venus is actually in a pretty good position here in the sign of Taurus. Sun and Rahu are conjunct in the sign of Aries. Daredevil right there. Another really interesting thing, if you want to talk about things going wrong, so her moon is actually in the sign here of Cancer, conjunct Jupiter, so fairly loving person. I think really her daredevilness comes from this Sun-Rahu conjunction, but look at this, Mercury and Saturn are conjunct in Pisces, and guess what's retrograde in Pisces right now? Mercury. This is weird. I've seen so many people over the last couple of weeks that have appeared in the news have their Mercury in Pisces. So if you want to talk about retrograde Mercuries and stuff going wrong, this is the perfect example. Let's see other things that are going on. Let's see. Oh, she has a retrograde Mars conjunct K2. So I think that this her motorcycle. I don't know. I think her motorcycle daredevil tactics are really a result of this combination. This is kind of like what somebody that's very unsatisfied in life and very unsettled. And you know, but it's weird because she's got this Jupiter Moon conjunction here in the sign of Cancer, so she obviously has a lot of love to give. So anyway, very interesting. Let's see, moving on. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. If you didn't hear, a hot dog is now a sandwich. And of course, she's also pedals her autogyro to work every day. You know, because she's old, and old people drive autogyros with stuff. So yeah, ha ha ha. So, another interesting thing. Look at this. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a retrograde Mercury in the sign of Pisces. Her and Stormy Daniels have pretty much the same chart. Let's hope that she keeps her day job, Ruth. You know, stay there, right? So, interesting things. Mars and the south node of the moon are conjunct here in the sign of Leo. Also a retro. Wow, look at all these retrogrades in the sign of Leo. That's pretty interesting. Let's see, fixed star, Pollux, Pluto conjunct Pollux. So this is more of a generational thing, but Pollux is really about battles and things like that. So I'm looking at this chart, and this is, interestingly enough, not the chart of somebody that I would consider a lawyer or a judge. So I'm actually not too familiar with Ruth Bader Ginsburg in her life, but with all these retrograde planets in here in Leo, this looks like something that probably had a fairly difficult life with the retrograde Mars too. You know, I don't know if she's been through any abuse or anything like that, but this can really affect that stuff, and especially too because Mars is casting a trine here almost directly onto Mercury. So there's a lot of pretty weird conjunctions, and also two not weird but difficult conjunctions. And Mercury is also debilitated in the sign of Pisces, but when it's retrograde, it actually acts as an exalted planet. And the exalted Mercury is all about intelligence and communicating. So we're looking at somebody that had to fight her way from the bottom. So that's how that works. Retrograde planets that are in debilitated positions start out very difficult, but somehow, some way, the person finds a way to overcome that energy, and they end up doing very well in life. So, you know, you have to really, when you look at a retrograde planet, you have to understand how it functions. And so with a retrograde Mars, people tend to bury their anger, right? Then it's also, if it's conjunct Ketu too, there's a lot of, how do I put, a lot of subconscious anger going on in this woman. Very interesting though. So, all right, well, that is all I had for today. I should be back tomorrow. I'm thinking I'm probably going to do a book review, and I'd also like to talk a little bit about what nakshatras are, if you're not familiar with them. They are the lunar nodes of the mansion in Vedic astrology. So anyway, thank you for joining me today, and if you want to contact me, all the links are below. And of course, if you have any ideas or anybody want me to cover on the show, just let me know, and I'll be more than happy to take a look at it. All right, have a good evening.